What's up there, YouTube friends? Chetter here, back with another video. First off, I hope you are doing well. I hope you have a great day, and I hope everything goes well for you. Thank you very much for clicking on this video and for joining me for this review. This is going to be a review of the 2024, but still fairly new, movie called Anora. Anora is directed by Sean Baker. Sean Baker is a semi-famous director, not trying to knock him down at all. I just mean I haven't heard his name used in a lot of mainstream senses. Some people I talk to don't know who he is, and I've had to explain that he's known for shooting films on iPhone and I guess getting that big as well. There's a film he shot on iPhone called Tangerine that I still haven't seen, but I've heard good things about. The one that I did see that I really liked is called The Florida Project from 2017, I believe. That one's pretty good, and he has a very filming style that's very raw. He likes to film people in trouble. I want to say conflicted, you could use the word flawed characters, conflicted people who sometimes aren't even good and don't make right choices, but he likes to film. His movies are very raw, basically, and they're very they really pull you in, so they're always a cool experience. I've only seen one or two other ones. Anora's his newest one. It's actually his highest grossing movie too, so it's good to hear that this movie is doing well. And this is just going to be a quick review to let you know my thoughts, my score, and if I recommend you to go see the movie. And my score for this movie is going to be an A. Yeah, I love this movie. This was a really awesome movie. If you haven't seen this movie, go and see it. It's a pretty crazy movie. So I will say you've got to be in for, you got to be okay with a lot of nudity, a lot of like excess of, how do I say, debauchery, right? So I think Wolf of Wall Street. If you're familiar with the movie Wolf of Wall Street, it's similar to Wolf of Wall Street. There's a lot of, you see characters go crazy, but it's a really great movie. This movie is labeled or sold as a comedy drama, and it is that. I think it's a little more appropriate to describe it as a dark comedy, because it is, or a dark comedy drama, because it is a pretty dark comedy. One of my favorite parts about this movie that I like in this movie and other movies, right? This is a staple in dark comedies, right? Dark comedies get you to laugh at scenes and sequences that sort of on paper aren't funny, but when you watch it play out in the movie, it's funny. And this movie has a lot of those scenes where if I almost explain it to you, it may even sound offensive. Sometimes offensive words are used in this movie. The F word, the derogatory, F word for gay people, is used in this movie, but it's used in a funny way. It's funny how it plays out. It's not offensive. So there's other not funny scenes like, women in peril, but with how it's played out, it ends up being pretty funny, and you actually get an interesting story out of this movie too. So in this movie, why I recommend it to people is because you get a wild, unexpected, hilarious comedy movie. It is so funny, and you won't expect it. I heard this movie was really funny, and it still caught me off guard with just how things were playing out. It's really funny, and it doesn't really stop being funny. It's pretty funny throughout the whole movie, and it has a lot of attitude. It has a lot of, I guess you would say, pizzazz. It has a lot of, it's such a raw and exhilarating experience because it really pulls you into the world and the characters. It's so good at that, at taking you in. Part of that is how the movie is filmed. Sean Baker, he films things, sometimes it's in a way that feels like it's a friend shooting on an iPhone. So some people may complain about this, where some of the filming looks, I don't want to say unprofessional, but it looks almost like uncinematic, it might be the right way, because it looks like it's shot on, if I pull out my iPhone and shot you with your friend going crazy, and then we say that's the movie, it can look like that a couple times, right? But I think that is intentional and also does a good job of making the movie and the people feel real. It adds an element like you're just watching these real people play out, because the movie does a pretty good job of that. It's very cartoonish. It's very Home Alone, Looney Tunes esque, where it's wild and unreal, but it's also very, very realistic. And Madison, I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I think it's Mickey because her full name, when I look it up, is Michaela, so I'm just calling her Mickey Madison. I'm not. I've also heard Mikey, but if it's, I hope it's Mickey Madison. Anyway, she is the lead. She is in. I've only seen her in one other movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where she's not given a big role in that, but she's funny and crazy in that movie. But she's the lead in this movie. She's great. She carries the movie. She is just freaking awesome in this movie. She's super funny. She's a strong but flawed female lead character, and I would say uh, even though she has a lot going against her, I would still describe her as a strong female character. I realize I haven't even described the plot of this movie. The plot of the movie is basically a stripper gets married to a rich guy on a whim. She starts living a good life, but then the rich guy's family finds out and wants the marriage annulled, and there is some hijinks along the way. But that's basically the story. It's a stripper Cinderella love story, basically. So the main character, played by Mickey Madison, is a stripper, and yeah, it's wild. You see a lot of her, so just be prepared for that. There's some male nudity in here too, so that there's also, be prepared for that. But it is a wild movie. She carries this movie though, man. I mean, everyone else in this movie is good too. They're unknown or not big named actors, I should say, compared to Mickey is the biggest name on this roster. And she just carries the hell out of this movie, man. It's so cool to see her. You really get, I think it's so easy to get invested into her character. The only people I would see that really couldn't get into her character is if you really have a problem with strippers for some reason, which I don't know why someone would, but if someone just can't have empathy for someone in her trouble, where the other part of this movie, there's a lot of underlying story that I think you can read into too. It works as a fun comedy, and it works as a pretty good character study movie. It's hard for me to talk about much else without getting into spoilers. So if you've made it this far, I do highly recommend the movie. I didn't watch it in time for my best movies of last year list, but I probably would have put this as my second favorite or third favorite movie of 2024. It's really, really good, and I can't wait to rewatch it. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Let me know with the comment below if you liked it or not, because that lets me know that I have good recommending power. If you've seen it already, let me know what you thought. I'll go into a spoiler section here because there is something that I want to talk about especially, and this will just be the spoiler section. So we're starting right now. So what I want to really talk about is the ending. The ending just kind of comes out of nowhere and hits like a truck, like a big semi truck, and just full 0 to 60 in your face. It's such a heavy, emotionally heavy ending because assuming you've seen it or not, what happens is at the end of this stripper love story, I'm going to assume you've seen the movie here, okay, just for ease of description. At the end, Anora has sex with Igor, the man who's been helping her throughout the whole movie, but then she breaks down and cries on top of him, and it's so heavy because most of the movie you don't get this. I mean, there is emotion, but it's not this heavy depressive emotion, and it comes out full force there, and it's kind of overwhelming, especially compared to what you just saw. And when you first see the movie, at least for me, I wasn't even sure what I thought about the ending because most of the movie is funny, and then that ending is so depressive or is so revealing about a depression that I think the movie is honestly about, but it distracts you. And I think that's the cool part of this movie is the movie is so fun and so exhilarating that it's basically about the main character having a bad life and not feeling loved, right? And then when she finds this chance to have a husband and to feel love, she jumps into it. She's, it does seem about the money. It does seem about the money, but it's clear as she argues through the movie, she keeps insisting that her and her husband Ivan are in love, even though Ivan ran out and left her to be, murdered, or anything, could have happened to her, and he abandoned her. And so she's still convinced, and she argues this through the movie, that she and Ivan are in love and they're going to stay married, and the family has to accept it. And she's convinced of that. And I think if you study the movie, I think this movie is a character study kind of in disguise, or that works as a dark comedy. Because I think if you study the character Anora, I see her as having an underlying depression. This movie is a way in her escape, and we're seeing the story where she gets a chance to escape, but basically it doesn't work out. And when at the end, why does she break down and cry is the big question, right? At the very end, I think it's explained because Igor, the man who's been helping her, it's clear that he's been taking care of her through his time in the movie. And I know there is some kind of, I don't want to say action, or questionable scenes with him where you could debate how much he was helping her, but a lot of it, or most of it, is justified in how he was looking over her and keeping her safe. And that's the first time that she experiences real love, someone actually caring about her circumstance, because everyone in the whole movie treats her like a tool. And even her sister, her roommate that she lives with, like, did you get the milk? It doesn't ask how she's doing, what's up, or how are you, just like, did you do this, did you get this? And she's just treated like a tool. And Igor's the first person and the only person in the movie that treats her like a person with humanity, and actually cares about how she's doing and feeling. And I see it as she breaks down and crying into tears because she can't handle it. She doesn't know how to respond to this actual display of love. Igor, it's kind of weird to say, because I don't say Igor is in love with her, but it's love in the practical sense. When you're taking care of someone, it's a type of love. And Igor is watching over her in that way. And she can't handle it. Anora's been fighting back so hard the whole time. She just nonstop fighting and fighting. It's almost exhausting. And I was wondering, how does she even have this much energy? But anyway, that's beside the point. It's crazy how much Anora fights, is a fighter, right? And then she just breaks down and cries at the end. And it comes out of, you could say it come out of left field, and that it's a, alien to the rest of the movie. But I think it reveals that the movie is really about her and her underlying depression. And the Cinderella love story was a chance to escape, but it was a fake dream, right? Just like the Cinderella the movie, it's a story, right? And that's she kind of lived in this fantasy story for a moment, and when she actually experiences the real connection, it's overwhelming for her, and she just cries on top of him, and it's heavy as hell. So man, it makes me teary, man. And that's why I like watching movies, as I like watching these character studies that really um, are revealing of our human nature. And I don't think characters have to be perfect. I like when characters are forced to come with their flaws and deal with it. And that's basically what happens with this story. And it's so funny and pretty powerful. So I can't wait to rewatch it. It's a great movie. It's so funny. There's so many scenes that I feel like you shouldn't laugh at, and they're so funny. Like when just Nora's under attack, right? She's basically being assaulted. It's so funny. Like when she's being picked up and just screaming and stuff. It's there are things you shouldn't laugh at that are so funny. So I loved this movie quite a bit. It's not S for me, but it's kind of close. It's really close, because I just wish the third. It's like the three-fourths of the movie. It's when they're looking for Ivan. They look for Ivan too long, I think. And I couldn't tell if they were looking for Ivan for a week. And it felt like a week when I was watching the movie. And then they say that it's only it's been a long night, man, and so it's only one night, but it felt like it dragged and it was disorienting, I guess, on the passage of time. So I would have fixed that up a little bit, but that's a small thing in comparison to what you get in this movie. So I highly recommend this movie. If you thought the same or if you loved it, please let me know, because this is, yeah, I'm just on this movie right now. It's so cool. I want to rewatch it again, but I'm done rambling about this movie. It's a great movie. Go check out Anora. I wrote a big letterbox review on it too, just because I'm super into this movie. But that's all. I really appreciate you listening to me. Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed me, like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. But I appreciate your time. I will see you in the next video when I talk about the next movie or subject. But that is all. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Chetter out. Goodbye.